slides. Pretty much just going to be showing you the thing that we made last week?
Yeah.
Only last week?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
that. I've shown it to a few people. There was a Thursday where Matt and Joey and I got together and we thought, let's make a thing. And we went to my house and we wrote some code and we ended up with something at the end of it. So I had an idle chat with Matt on Twitter about the idea of rubber ducking, which, does everyone here know what rubber ducking is? Getting some blank faces, some familiar looking nods. So the principle of rubber ducking is that if you're stuck on a programming problem, or indeed any real problem, you can sit and you can talk to your rubber duck or an inanimate object, and if you talk for long enough, if you know the solution deep inside your head, the conversation brings it out of you and you start to learn things you didn't even know you'd picked up subconsciously. And it's really, really good in programming because sometimes your logical flaws will be like, so why is this thing coming out false? Oh, because it's got the word not in the variable name. That makes sense. For example, why can't you plug it in? Because it's on the wrong side. So we ended up writing we talked about how to build rubber ducking as a service. So the idea is, in software you have to do everything as a service. So rubber ducking as a service is the idea that you could use the web page and learn about how to fix your computer programming problem using really stupid methods that just kind of prod your brain and remind you of the things that you already know. Okay.
1, 2 and 3. One's the PC that you're not using.
Okay.
So don't press that.
3. It's behind you.
Right, perfect. Okay, this is going to be a bit of a fuss. So we ended up we talked about what's the best way of doing this and making it. And I'm a bit of a CoffeeScript freak, as regular attendees will know, and you guys will learn pretty quickly. And we decided that what if you were rubber ducking something really secure, something really important, and you were really stuck and you couldn't even talk to any of your colleagues because it was really discreet, really secret. So we made an entirely client-side app. It was all written in JavaScript, and it's just in the browser. There's no server communication, there's nothing leaving the app itself. So in theory you could wrap it up in Cordova and put it on a device and someone could be using it privately, discreetly, put it in MapGap, I think it could probably be translated to be a Windows 8 app using their JavaScript APIs. It's going to be quite flexible when it gets there, if it gets there. So we wrote a series of CoffeeScript classes that are all quite comedically named around this idea of duck. So when it gets started, you create a new duck, and it has a bill and a brain. So the bill is the bit that does all the talking, and the brain is the one that does all the thinking. And how we split it up is Matt wrote everything to do with the brain, that does anything to do with machine learning and text analysis and trying to work things through. And I did stuff to do with the bill, which is basically the UI, and that's it, really. But it kind of made it seem like it was more than it is. So let's have a look at the app. I'm actually running a slightly different version of the app than the one that's live. And you will find out about how different it is. So it's it's like a single page app. You have a conversation using text boxes and it keeps asking you questions until you get it, basically. So we do a page refresh.
Can you describe the problem in a paragraph? Please use small sentences. I'm only a duck.
Why is Paul O'Grady doing it?
So yeah, I went for comedy as best I could. This is a client-side JavaScript text-to-speech. It's about 2.5 megs download. I was going to try and find a way of where you have to opt in, and if you're on mobile, you can't download it. You don't even get offered the chance to have it because it just seems ridiculous.
Oh, and if you're doing that secure problem, you need a little tick box to say you're not listening and get the voice. And
yeah, but at the moment I'm focusing more on the text-to-speech. I've done some stuff with speech-to-text, but it's really ropey, and the only way to do it is to send it off to Google's APIs. So, in terms of, did you want to come up and drive? Because you probably know the better questions to ask, having written its brain.
Well, no.
So the idea is you write some very sort of simple sentences about the problem, And for some cases, just describing your problem in a paragraph will make you, as you happen to formulate sentences, suddenly it's out of your head in front of you. That can solve the problem. Yeah, that looks good.
What should I call the function/object/thing that is misbehaving?
So this is us cheating, basically, and going, give us a name that we can keep referring to. We're going to do
In
some
theory, we should work this out, but I don't know why I didn't.
So we're going to do a bit of text analysis to try and work out what nouns you're describing. So when you say, this fucking node project, you end up, and it goes, how can I solve this fucking node project? Carries on talking about it.
Can you explain what my rubber duck does?
So it probes you and it just kind of says, talk through this, explain it. Joey was doing some different programming in the same room. She was trying to build a Rails app, and every time she got stuck, we just went through the script with her rather than actually solving her problem. I can't line up these CSS elements, and she'd say to me, and I'd go, "Can you describe your problem in a paragraph?" Rather than just going, "Yeah, just do this."
So does it do just one thing? Any chance that my rubber duck, all parts of it, can be isolated and tested separately?
I think I'm
Carry
going to scrap
on the
this
script.
text.
It needs to be a bit faster, unfortunately.
Try using, oh no, we haven't got the internet. It's a little microphone icon on the end there of the text input. WebKit have just let you put that as an attribute on text inputs, so you can just do text to speech, whatever you like. But it all goes through Google's API, and I'm assuming that Google are just kind of casually gathering everyone's text to speech stuff. I don't know what they're doing with it. It can't be evil.
In fact, on the Mac, if you've got the dictation enabled, you can just do double
Yeah,
press on the
that's really good.
function.
That goes through Apple stuff as well. Yeah.
You
Choose your evil.
No, you can do it fully offline if you download it. Yes.
Oh,
You
right.
have to just download the whole of the program.
Yeah.
And you think they're not logging in and
it's-
setting them back later on. It's,
What parts of my rubber duck are you certain work, and where are your unknowns?
So it goes, we kind of had conversations about what are the typical conversations you'd have with another developer where they don't really know what you're talking about. And they'll say things like, can you log anything? Can you get it working in a different way? Have you got examples of other people getting it working? And we basically written it in such a way that it keeps iterating through and it pulls different, eventually it will pull different nouns and start throwing you different questions about them. So if you've mentioned something in passing, it'll go, oh, but what about this? How does this work?
Does it ever say if you try Stack Overflow?
That's the last line of defence. We're going to use it. Yeah, that text is good. That text to speech is good.
Is everything in my rubber duck your code?
I can't.
Can you replace uncertainty?
So Stack Overflow have got a pretty straightforward API. What we're going to do is gather the nouns together and get the language, poll Stack Overflow API and get the highest ranking questions, and only the ones that contain the text that you've got, and then just give you the names of the questions as links, so you can then go, sorry we couldn't help you, here's Stack Overflow, and then if we find any other sources that are good, even if it's just sort of tweets by the creators, or if we can find out who's written the code, you could say, why don't you get in touch with, I don't know, someone famous that's made some famous bit of code you're dealing with. But the idea is to kind of, if you're building something on your own, it's the middle of the night, which, I don't know about you, but that's when I do all my work. You don't have to then wake up someone or deal with people in Australia. You can just, it needs fixing. But yeah, that's Rubber Duck. And then code-wise, there's all sorts of, did you want to go through how some of the, how your state machine works?
Yeah. So I'm slightly confused because in theory the sentence I put in to start with should have worked. I don't know whether maybe the version of code in the branch doesn't have the latest brain bits, but never mind. It's fine. It's okay. It'll be fine. So where do I need to go to get to the code?
So yeah. State machine?
Well, we'll start with the brain because the brain is the. So this is the simple bit that I wish the rest of it was like. So. Anders didn't. Sorry?
Do you want me to talk about the events?
No, I can talk about the events as well. So Anders has set up the event system to work based on the app. Now the app gets passed in right at the very start when we create the Bill in the brain, this that is simply all that we need to tell it that, you know, for this object is getting passed through. And so the brain just listens to the quack and the reset events. Now, I kind of had a bit of an epiphany as we were walking up the hill for this, because I realised that, you know, what we wanted was something like a state machine, but we also wanted something that, almost like in machine learning terms, a fitness function, as to, you know, whether or not this state would be appropriate for us. So I ended up calling it the fitness state machine. And in this, we just have a list of states where we describe the problem, what has the problem, what we should call the function, etc. And depending on whether or not this state qualifies, for example, if we don't know what the problem is yet, and we've already visited, you know, had the first question, then this state is appropriate, and things like that. So essentially, I mean, you could easily map this out to a visual state diagram if you wanted to. And it also has like post actions and pre actions. So within each state, you can tell it what it needs to do with the information it's got back from the user. The other interesting part of this is probably the ugliest part of this, the pattern matching. Now, at some point, we're going to find an amazing semantic analyzer written entirely in JavaScript. Until that point, I basically have coded in a whole bunch of regexes that are a little bit nasty, but essentially attempt to break up the sentence into small clauses so that we can find the thing that's likely to be the noun. So in theory, if we say something is, something isn't working, etc., this noun matcher should work out that that's something that's before the word is, isn't, ain't. That's probably the thing that we're having a problem with, and so we'll use that as the noun. In a newer version, in fact, no, it is in this version, I don't know why it's not working. In theory, it's supposed to work out if you said, my thing is not working, say, oh, so your thing isn't working, your thing is doing this. So it's all very simple, but it just pretends to be a little cleverer than it is. And then, yeah, that all gets passed into the brain, which after the first, into the fitness state machine, which after the first question, so the first question, which gives it the likely nouns, and if that hasn't really found anything suitable, it actually asks the problem, or asks the question, you know, what is it that we should be, that we think is misbehaving. After that, it really doesn't care what your answers are, it's just there to listen to you. So that's about it.
Yeah. I've tried doing some stuff with speech-to-text using the built-in little API and the APIs built into Chrome, and they're a bit rough and ready, and it kind of gives you this weird, because it tries to make more sense of the stuff you've already said by looking at the thing you said next. So it keeps throwing back the sentence at you and working out when you're starting a new sentence based on what the previous one is, it starts to get really fiddly. So I'm kind of going to try and reduce some of the more gimmicky stuff. It's already online and it's already there for people to use. Because it's entirely client-side, we have no idea if anyone's using it. Put Google Analytics on there, I don't even know if that's working. It's a bit of a shambles as a project. But it's fun and we learn some stuff. Does anybody have any questions?
When does Drag the Dots 2 come in?
When does Drag the Dots 1 get its next update? Is more of a pressing question. When did the 2 modes that I mentioned like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, actually get released? I don't know, it's all gone on hold. I just get distracted very easily. Okay, look at this. Does the quack? It doesn't. We need to get a recording of a quack. One thing that's quite interesting about this. So one thing that's quite interesting about this speech to text is that is the voice. It's all a JSON file with base64 in it. which means that the whole thing. So our version control is full of different accents. You can't read these, but there's like an English Northern, Scottish, United States, and it's kind of this crazy. I don't know who thought of it, but base64 encoded. I guess they're kind of like WAV files or something, but they're encoded to be undone by the HTML5 audio API, and then there's just some magic that happens. But yeah, the actual library itself is big. This is it loading. It's absolutely ginormous. So yeah, minified is 7,300 lines, which is quite big for a JavaScript library. But there's some quite fun stuff. So this is their sample website. So they've really invested in trying to productize it, sell it as best they can. Oh, you turn the sound off. But you can have a bit of a play. And you can change the amplitude and the pitch and the speed, so you can make it quite high pitched and faster, and no word gap. So it's a bit ropey, like all text to speech, but it's quite interesting that people are already trying to get this into not just into web APIs but client side as well. So that's it really. Any more questions? No? I guess that's it for...
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you store the conversations? Do you use the conversation to learn
We don't
potential
store
solutions?
We don't store anything. That's part of the point. I think what we might do is we might let people opt in to store their conversations to help improve the project.
With the machine learning one,
Amazing.
it's easy to interpret really quickly.
Yes, so one of the ideas behind the way we designed the fitness state machine is that hopefully we can then incorporate proper fitness functions and some version of machine learning, so we know that actually this asking this question at this point tends to return better results. But no, I mean without breaching people's privacy and this implicitly being entirely
That's anonymous, though. You don't log in.
Yeah.
Just unidentified.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, it's literally just an HTML file.
Well,
It's a JavaScript.
they say anonymous, but even with anonymous data,
There is no,
join the dots.
but there is no data.
yeah.
That's the point.
No, as in if you're talked in.
Yeah. No, I think so. But the entire thing's on GitHub, so feel free to fork it and do it better, because it'd be great to see it actually work. Well, it does work. It does work to some extent. But yeah, so we put the whole thing on GitHub, and it's actually hosted with GitHub pages as well, so it's all in the one repo, which is quite a fun experiment. Thank you all for coming to FESuffolk. It's been really good to see so many people. Maybe I should buy cakes more often. I just have to come up with reasons for it. Again, hello.
When Paul Hudson said that he could do another titanium talk and there would be more free pizza, why aren't we calling Paul more often to demand our pizza?
I'll give him a prod. He's skiing today, so he's
How's he stop watching having pizza?
I reckon he's done loads of talks and then opened up his own pizza parlor, and then that's how he can afford to go skiing. No, I'll quiz him on that, and yeah, I'll try and get something a bit more sponsored-y, because it's quite good for kind of getting people out of woodwork and to come along.
Can I quickly mention workshop? So before I start this, just for Carl's benefit more than anyone, who has actually installed this Microsoft OnX thing just off the back of his presentation today? Yeah,
There's at least one.
I
That's
would
all.
do.
yeah, good. So quite a few of us have. So, yeah. So I was intrigued because I know I did. That was the first thing I did. So yeah, it's good.
No internet.
Oh, of course there isn't. Silly. Yes, I possibly, maybe, probably running a workshop it's going to be in Norwich, so it'll be a little bit of a trek for you, but it's going to be pretty cheap. We're thinking about roughly £30 to £50 per person for a whole day workshop learning Ruby and Rails. So if anybody's interested in learning Ruby and Rails, as I say, it'll be a whole day workshop sometime in May, June, July kind of area. I know it's expanding. It's somewhere towards the summer, but it won't be too far away. If anyone's interested, there is a website for you to register your interests so that we can work out just whether it's worth us doing it or not. So if you are interested, please do register. The website is workshop.nrug, N-R-U-G, Norwich Ruby User Group, .co.uk. Yeah, if you're interested, please do register your interest, because that would be quite good. We appreciate it. So thank you.
And if you're interested in learning Ruby and Rails, get a head start by coming on to it.
Before there is Switch on Thursday night, which Carl runs.
This Thursday, last Thursday every month, Switch.
What is it on Thursday?
It's the kind of, what's the point of the technology strategy board? Sorry, what's the role? So we've got one of the techie, represents the technical part of the board to come along and talk about what it's about, how you can get funded.
I think there are still tickets for NordevCon, which is on Friday, which is cutting it a bit fine now. But there's a discount code for, if you enter Sync Ipswich, you can get a discount to...
I don't know if it's
run out.
I think they're all running out.
He's left it running.
Okay. The students on definitely got killed.
Oh, right. Well, he might have taken it down. I don't know. But there is
some discounts going on, definitely.
Type in random codes. Just type in random codes.
Yeah, it can't be that many different codes. But yeah, if anyone wants us to cover anything or anything they think might be good to do in an FESuffolk and you don't really want to do a talk on it, providing it's something I can understand and create a talk, I don't mind writing talks on subjects that people wish they heard more about as well. Cool. Thank you very much for coming, and some of us, hopefully most of us, will be heading to the bar down the docks, the Cult Cafe. Cool. Thank you.